If you're reading this, I've already broken the last rule, and I don't know if I'll survive the night. I'm writing this from the cramped back office of the gas station, hands shaking so badly I can barely type. The lights are flickering overhead, and every time the bulbs stutter, I catch glimpses of movement in the reflection of the security monitor. Something is out there, something that knows I've failed. I can hear it scraping along the glass, mimicking my voice, calling out for help in a tone that's almost, but not quite, my own. I was warned. There are rules here. Strange, specific rules, taped to the wall in faded ink, and written in a hand that looks like it was trembling with fear. I thought they were a joke at first, some kind of initiation prank for the new guy. But the rules are real, and breaking them has consequences. I broke the last rule tonight. The one that's never written down, the one the others only whispered about when they thought I wasn't listening. I can't tell you exactly what it is. Not yet. There are things I can't explain, things I'm not supposed to talk about. But you need to know. If you ever find yourself working the night shift at a gas station like this, you need to know what's waiting for you in the dark. I can hear it now, closer, dragging something heavy across the linoleum. My phone is dead. The landline's been cut. I'm alone, except for whatever's out there, and the rules I've already broken. You're probably wondering how I ended up here, how a normal guy with nothing but bad luck and worse timing found himself trapped in a place like this. Let me start from the beginning, before I knew what I was really signing up for. I never planned on working the night shift at a gas station, let alone one that felt like it had been forgotten by time and common sense. But desperation has a way of making you ignore red flags, especially when your bank account is gasping for air and your landlord is leaving eviction notices like love letters on your door. I'd lost my last job 2 months earlier. Downsizing, they said, as if that made it less personal. My friends had all moved on. My family was 1,000 miles away. And the only thing I had left was a rusted-out sedan and a resume that looked like a cautionary tale. So when I saw the handwritten sign in the window, "Help wanted, night shift, apply inside," I didn't hesitate. The gas station sat on the edge of town, where the streetlights faded and the woods pressed in close. It was the kind of place you'd drive past without noticing, unless you were running on fumes or running from something worse. Inside, the air was thick with the smell of burnt coffee and cleaning chemicals that never quite masked the scent of old cigarettes. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting everything in a sickly, yellowish glow. The shelves were stocked with the usual chips, candy, energy drinks, and a suspiciously large selection of beef jerky. There was a rack of faded tabloids by the register, headlines screaming about alien abductions and government conspiracies. I remember thinking it was all a little too on the nose. The manager, a wiry man named Carl, looked like he hadn't slept in a week. He wore a faded polo shirt with the station S logo and a name tag that read C. Henderson. He didn't bother with small talk. Instead, he slid a clipboard across the counter and told me to fill out the application. His eyes darted to the windows every few seconds, like he was expecting someone, or something, to walk in. The interview was short. He asked if I had reliable transportation, if I could work weekends, if I had any allergies to cleaning products. Then, almost as an afterthought, he asked, "You ever worked nights before?" I shook my head. He nodded, lips pressed tight, and scribbled something on the form. That's when the questions got weird. Can you follow instructions, even if they don't make sense? I hesitated, but nodded. He leaned in, lowering his voice. You ever had to lock a bathroom from the outside? I laughed, thinking it was a joke. He didn't smile. I should have known something was wrong when he handed me a heavy ring of keys and told me not to lose them, no matter what. Or when he pointed to the security cameras and said, "If you see anything strange, don't go outside. Just call me." Or when he gave me a list of emergency numbers, none of which were 911. But I needed the job. So I signed the paperwork, shook his clammy hand, and told myself it was just another night shift gig. Just a paycheck. Just until something better came along. As I left, I noticed a faded sign taped to the break room door. The ink was smeared, but I could make out a few words. Do not ignore the rules. I figured it was just another corporate policy, some overzealous manager's idea of motivation. But it wasn't until my first shift that I saw the rules. Rule number 1, never let anyone in after 2:13 a.m., no matter how much they beg. That was the first thing I saw when I walked into the break room for my inaugural shift. The rules were taped to the wall, written in blocky, all-caps Sharpie on a sheet of yellowed printer paper. There were 13 rules in total, each one more bizarre than the last. I stood there, half awake and clutching a cup of stale coffee, reading them over and over, trying to decide if this was some elaborate hazing ritual or just the world's worst attempt at employee motivation. Rule number 2. If the payphone rings, answer on the third ring, never the first or second. Rule number 3. The bathroom must be locked from the outside after midnight. If you hear knocking from inside, ignore it. Rule number 4. If a customer pays with coins older than 1960, do not touch them with your bare hands. Use the tongs in the drawer. Rule number 5. At 3:33 a.m., turn off all the lights for exactly 1 minute. Do not look outside during this time. Rule number 6. If you see a dog with human eyes, do not acknowledge it. It will leave on its own. Rule number 7. The coffee machine will sometimes dispense a cup on its own. Throw it away without looking inside. Rule number 8. If you hear someone call your name from the storage room, check the security monitor first. If you see yourself on the screen, do not enter. Rule number 9. The man in the gray suit comes in every Thursday at 4:07 a.m. He will buy a pack of gum and leave. Do not speak to him. Rule number 10. If the radio starts playing static, turn it off immediately. Do not listen to the voices. Rule number 11. If you find a tooth on the floor, flush it down the toilet. Do not keep it. Rule number 12. The freezer door must remain locked at all times. If you find it open, call Carl. Rule number 13. If you forget any of these rules, pray. Some rules made a twisted kind of sense, like locking the bathroom from the outside. Maybe it was to keep out vagrants or pranksters. But others? The payphone hadn't worked in years, and who the hell checks the date on coins? The one about the dog made me snort into my coffee. I pictured some mangy mutt with cartoonishly big, soulful eyes, and wondered if Carl was just screwing with me. Still, there was something about the way the rules were written. No jokes, no winks, just cold, clinical instructions, like someone had learned them the hard way. I tried to imagine the kind of person who would come up with this list. Paranoid? Maybe. Or maybe just someone who'd seen too much. I took a picture of the list with my phone, just in case. I figured I'd show it to my friends later, get a laugh out of it. But as I stood there, the silence of the break room pressing in, I felt a chill crawl up my spine. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, and for a moment, I thought I heard something moving in the vents. I tried to shake it off. I told myself it was just nerves, just the weirdness of starting a new job in the middle of the night. But the rules stuck with me, worming their way into my thoughts. Some rules make sense. Others, I still don't understand. I taped the list back up, grabbed my keys, and headed out to the front counter. I was determined not to let a bunch of creepy rules get to me. After all, it was just a gas station. Just another night. I thought it was a joke. Until the first night. My first night started the way I expected, with a yawn, a stale donut, and the kind of boredom that makes you question every life choice that led you to a graveyard shift in a nowhere town. The clock above the register ticked so slowly I was convinced it was broken. I spent the first hour restocking shelves, wiping down counters, and trying to ignore the way the wind rattled the glass doors. The only customer was a trucker who bought 2 energy drinks and a pack of cigarettes, grunted a thank you, and disappeared into the night. I was halfway through a crossword puzzle when the bell above the door jingled again. This time, it was a regular. At least, that's what he told me. He was a big guy, with a beard that looked like it could hide a family of squirrels and a faded denim jacket. He grabbed a coffee and a bag of chips, then leaned on the counter, eyeing me with a kind of amused pity. "New guy, huh?" he said, voice gravelly. "Yeah, first night," I replied, trying to sound casual. He nodded, glancing at the clock. "You read the rules yet?" I hesitated, then shrugged. "Yeah, I saw them. Some kind of joke, right?" He didn't laugh. Instead, he leaned in, lowering his voice. "Just follow him, especially the one about the payphone." I tried to play it off with a smirk. "The payphone? That thing hasn't worked since the 90s. He just shook his head, dropped a crumpled 5 on the counter, and left without another word. The bell jingled behind him, and I was alone again. The hours dragged. Midnight came and went. I locked the bathroom from the outside, feeling ridiculous, but the memory of the regular's warning nagged at me. I tried to distract myself by organizing the candy bars, but every so often, I'd catch a flicker of movement in the corner of my eye. The lights above the coffee machine buzzed and flickered, casting weird shadows on the floor. At 1:30 a.m., the payphone rang. I nearly jumped out of my skin. The sound was so loud and sudden in the empty store that I dropped the box of Snickers I was holding. I stared at the phone, heart pounding. The rules said to answer on the third ring, never the first or second. But I was alone, and curiosity got the better of me. I picked up on the first ring. There was nothing on the other end. Just static, faint at first, then growing louder, like a storm was building inside the line. I pressed the receiver to my ear, straining to hear anything that made sense. Then, beneath the static, I heard my own voice whisper, "Don't look outside." I slammed the phone down, heart hammering. The lights flickered again, plunging the store into darkness for a split second. When they came back on, everything looked the same, except for the faint outline of a handprint on the glass door, smeared and wet, as if someone, or something, had been standing there, watching. I tried to laugh it off, telling myself it was just condensation, maybe a prank from the regular. But the unease wouldn't leave me. I went to the break room, splashed cold water on my face, and stared at my reflection in the cracked mirror. My eyes looked too wide, too alert. The rest of the night passed in a blur of small, unsettling moments. The radio crackled with static, even when it was turned off. The coffee machine dispensed a cup on its own, the liquid inside pitch black and steaming. I threw it away without looking, just like the rules said. At 3 a.m., I heard footsteps outside, slow and deliberate. I peered through the window and saw nothing but darkness and the faint outline of trees. That's when I saw it. Something watching from the edge of the woods. It was tall, impossibly thin, with eyes that glowed faintly in the moonlight. It didn't move, didn't blink, just watched. I backed away from the window, heart racing, and locked the door. I spent the rest of my shift behind the counter, clutching the list of rules like a lifeline. When the sun finally rose and Carl came in to relieve me, I tried to tell him what happened. He just looked at me, tired and unsurprised. "First night's always the worst," he said. "You'll get used to it, or you won't." After that, I never doubted the rules again. It didn't take long for me to realize that the thing I'd seen at the edge of the woods wasn't a one-time hallucination or a trick of the light. The longer I worked the night shift, the more I noticed the patterns. The way the air would go still and heavy, the way the animals in the woods would fall silent, the way the shadows seemed to stretch and breathe when the clock crept past midnight. There was something out there, something that watched and waited, and it wasn't interested in snacks or gas. The regulars called them Skinwalkers, though no one ever said the word out loud. It was always them or those things, or if someone was feeling especially brave, the Watchers. I'd heard stories growing up, but I'd always thought they were just campfire tales. Monsters invented to keep kids from wandering too far into the dark. But here, the stories felt real. They felt close. My third week on the job, I started to notice the voices. It would start with a whisper, so faint I thought I was imagining it. Sometimes it was my name, drifting in from the parking lot, or the sound of my mother's voice calling me home for dinner. Once, I heard my own voice, pleading for help from the other side of the locked bathroom door. The first time it happened, I almost opened the door out of reflex, but the rules flashed through my mind. Ignore the knocking, no matter what. One night, a kid came in, maybe 10 years old, eyes wide and scared. He clung to the counter, voice trembling. "My mom's outside. She says she forgot her keys. Can you let her in?" I glanced at the clock. 2:17 a.m. The rule was clear. Never let anyone in after 2:13, no matter how much they beg. I knelt down, trying to keep my voice steady. "What does your mom look like?" He hesitated, glancing over his shoulder. She's wearing a red coat. She keeps calling my name." I looked out the window. There was a woman standing just beyond the reach of the lights, her face hidden in shadow. She was waving, but her arm moved in a jerky, unnatural way, like a puppet with tangled strings. "That's not your mom, kid. Don't open the door," I whispered. He started to cry, but I kept him inside, hands shaking. Eventually, the woman stopped waving. She turned and melted into the darkness, her movements too smooth, too silent. The boy's sobs faded, and when I looked back, he was gone too. No footprints, no sign he'd ever been there. After that, I started asking questions. I cornered Carl during a slow shift, pressing him for answers. He just shook his head, eyes haunted. "Don't go looking for explanations," he said. "You'll just find more questions. The rules keep us safe. That's all you need to know." But I needed more. I started talking to the other employees, the ones who'd lasted more than a week. There was Maria, who worked weekends and always carried a silver cross in her pocket. She told me about the time she heard her brother's voice outside, even though he'd been dead for years. She said the thing at the window had his eyes, but nothing else was right. Then there was Dave, the old-timer who'd been working there since before the new highway was built. He told me about the night he saw a coyote walk on two legs, grinning at him through the glass. "They can look like anyone," he said, voice low, "but they can't get the eyes right. Or the teeth. If you see someone smiling too wide, lock the doors and pray." The stories piled up, each one worse than the last. A woman who came in every Friday, always buying the same pack of gum, but her reflection never matched her movements. A man who tried to pay with coins so cold they burned the cashier's hand. A little girl who asked for help finding her dog, but when they checked the security footage, she'd never entered the store at all. The worst part was the mimicry. The Skinwalkers didn't just look like people. They sounded like them, too. I'd hear co-workers' voices calling from the storage room, even when I knew I was alone. Once, I heard Carl's voice on the radio, telling me to come outside and help him with a delivery. But when I checked the monitor, Carl was sitting in the office, fast asleep. There's one rule we're not allowed to write down. It's the one everyone knows, but no one dares to say. If you ever see yourself outside, don't let it in. No matter what it says, no matter how much it begs, no matter how much it sounds like you. Because once you do, you're not you anymore. I started to understand why the rules existed. They weren't just guidelines. They were lifelines, thin threads keeping us from being pulled into whatever waited outside. But the rules aren't just for the Skinwalkers. You'd think the worst part of working nights at a gas station would be the loneliness, or maybe the drunks stumbling in after last call. But after a few weeks, I realized the real challenge was figuring out which customers were actually human, and which were just pretending. Most nights, the regulars came and went without incident. Truckers with tired eyes, nurses grabbing coffee on their way to the hospital, teenagers giggling as they bought energy drinks and tried to look tough. But every so often, someone would walk in and set my nerves on edge for reasons I couldn't explain. It was the little things at first. A woman who never blinked, not once, as she counted out exact change for a pack of gum. A man in a suit who always arrived at 4:07 a.m., bought the same brand of gum, and left without saying a word. His footsteps never made a sound, even on the sticky linoleum. I started to notice how some customers avoided the mirrors, or how their shadows didn't quite match their bodies. One night, a guy in a faded baseball cap came in, bought a single banana, and stared at me with eyes that were just a little too large, a little too bright. "Nice night," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. He smiled, but it was all teeth, no warmth. "You're not supposed to see me," he replied, voice flat and echoing, like he was speaking from the bottom of a well. I blinked, and he was gone. No footsteps, no door chime, just empty air and a banana left on the counter, already turning black. Some customers seemed to know about the rules. They'd glance at the list taped behind the register, lips moving as if counting off each one. A woman with long, tangled hair once handed me a handful of coins, all dated 1959. I reached for the tongs, but she stopped me with a look. "Smart," she whispered. "Not everyone remembers. Others had their own rules." A man in a raincoat came in during a thunderstorm, dripping water everywhere. He refused to step on the black tiles near the freezer, hopping from white to white like a child playing hopscotch. When I asked if he needed help, he just shook his head. "Not safe on the black," he muttered. "Not tonight." Sometimes, the line between human and not was razor thin. I learned to watch for the signs, the way their eyes tracked the security cameras, the way their voices echoed in the empty store, the way they always seemed to know exactly what time it was. I started to keep a notebook, jotting down details, trying to make sense of the patterns. But the more I learned, the less I understood. One night, a little girl came in, holding a stuffed rabbit. She wandered the aisles, humming a song I almost recognized. When she reached the counter, she looked up at me with eyes too old for her face. "Do you have the rules?" she asked. I nodded, throat dry. She smiled, showing sharp, tiny teeth. "Good. Some of us need them, too." She left without buying anything, and the store felt colder for hours afterward. Some of them know about the rules. Some of them make their own. I started to wonder if the rules were for us or for them, or maybe for something else entirely. The line between customer and predator blurred, and I realized I was just another piece in a game I didn't understand. But the worst night was still to come. Routine is a kind of armor. You follow the rules, you keep your head down, and you start to believe you're safe. That's how it was for me. Until the night the storm hit, and the rules stopped making sense. It started with thunder, low and distant, rumbling through the woods like a warning. The air was thick and electric, the kind of night where you can feel the pressure building, waiting to break. I was restocking the cooler, humming to myself, when the first flash of lightning lit up the parking lot. For a split second, I saw shapes moving at the tree line. Tall, thin, wrong. But when the darkness snapped back, they were gone. The rain came next, pounding against the windows so hard I thought the glass would shatter. The lights flickered, buzzed, and then died, plunging the store into a silence so deep I could hear my own heartbeat. The emergency lights kicked in, casting everything in a sickly red glow. I fumbled for my phone, but the signal was dead. The landline was nothing but static. I tried to remember the rules. Some of them were easy enough. Don't open the doors. Don't answer the phone unless it rings 3 times. But others depended on things I couldn't control. Rule number 5, at 3:33 a.m. Turn off all the lights for exactly 1 minute. Do not look outside during this time. What was I supposed to do when the lights were already out? I was still trying to figure it out when the radio crackled to life, hissing with static. I almost ignored it, but then I heard a voice. Frantic, desperate. Hello? Is anyone there? Please, I need help. It was a woman, her voice trembling. I grabbed the radio, pressing the button. This is the gas station. Are you nearby? I'm outside, she sobbed. My car broke down. Something's out here. Please, let me in. I glanced at the clock. 2:15 a.m. The rule was clear. Never let anyone in after 2:13, no matter how much they beg. But her voice was so real, so terrified. I hesitated, torn between the rules and the sound of her fear. Lightning flashed again, illuminating the parking lot. I saw her then, a woman in a soaked raincoat, pounding on the glass, eyes wide with terror. Behind her, something moved in the shadows, tall and thin, its limbs bending in ways that made my stomach twist. Please, she screamed, slamming her fists against the door. It's coming. Don't leave me out here. I froze. Every instinct screamed at me to help her, to break the rule just this once. But the memory of the boy and his mother haunted me. I pressed the intercom, voice shaking. I can't let you in. I'm sorry. I can't. She stared at me, betrayal and terror warring in her eyes. Then, slowly, her expression changed. Her mouth stretched into a smile that was too wide, too sharp. Her eyes went flat and empty. The thing behind her stepped into the light, and for a moment, I saw its face. My face, twisted and wrong, grinning at me through the rain. The radio crackled again, a different voice this time. Carl's voice. Don't open the door. No matter what you see, no matter what you hear. I backed away, heart pounding, as the woman's fists turned to claws, scraping at the glass. The lights flickered, then died completely. I was alone in the dark, the only sound the storm and the thing outside, still calling my name. I stumbled to the break room, searching for the emergency flashlight. The rules were useless now. How do you follow instructions when the world is falling apart? I heard footsteps in the aisles, voices whispering from the vents. The payphone rang, once, twice, 3 times. I ignored it, pressing my back to the wall, clutching the flashlight like a weapon. Then I heard a child's voice, crying for help. Please, let me in. It's so cold out here. I'm scared. I squeezed my eyes shut, trying to block it out. But the crying grew louder, more desperate. I remembered Maria's story, the thing with her brother's eyes. I remembered the rules. But then I heard something else. A real voice, weak and trembling, coming from the storage room. Help me. Please. I checked the security monitor. The screen flickered, showing the aisles, the counter, the storage room door. For a moment, I saw myself standing there, waving, beckoning me closer. I had to decide, break the rule, or let someone die. I chose the rules. I locked the storage room door, even as the voice on the other side begged and pleaded, promising it was real, promising it was human. I sat in the dark, listening to the storm and the voices, waiting for dawn. That's when I realized the rules were changing. I used to think the rules were just a list. Arbitrary, maybe superstitious, but ultimately meant to keep us safe from whatever prowled the woods at night. I thought if I followed them, I'd be fine. But after the storm, after the night everything went wrong, I started to notice things I hadn't before. Patterns, gaps, secrets hidden in plain sight. It started with the list itself. I'd read it 100 times, but now, in the aftermath, I saw the faint outline of erased words beneath the ink. Someone had changed the rules. Someone had tried to hide something. I found myself obsessing over the missing lines, the smudges, the way Carl's eyes always darted away when I asked about the 13th rule. One night, after my shift, I stayed late, searching the back office for answers. I dug through old logbooks, receipts, even the dusty employee manuals no one ever read. That's when I found it. A battered notebook, wedged behind a loose panel in the wall. The cover was stained and torn, the pages filled with cramped handwriting and frantic sketches. It wasn't just a diary. It was a confession. The entries started normal enough. Complaints about long hours, weird customers, the usual. But as I read on, the tone changed. The writer, someone named Jay, described things I'd only glimpsed. Shadows that moved on their own, voices that mimicked loved ones, customers who left footprints that didn't match their shoes. And then, buried in the middle, a single line, circled over and over. The gas station is a gate. I felt a chill crawl up my spine. The next page was a list, not unlike the rules I already knew, but with one crucial difference. At the bottom, in shaky handwriting, was a rule I'd never seen before. If the door in the floor opens, do not look inside. Do not listen. Do not speak. If you do, you become part of the station. I stared at the words, heart pounding. I'd always thought the trapdoor in the storage room was just for old inventory, maybe a storm shelter. But I'd never seen it open. I'd never even thought to check. The more I read, the more I realized the gas station wasn't just a place to buy snacks and fuel. It was a threshold, a thin spot between worlds. The rules weren't just for us, they were for whatever was on the other side. To keep it contained, to keep it fed. The customers, the Skinwalkers, the things that came in the night, they weren't accidents. They were drawn here, like moths to a flame. There's a reason this place exists. And it's not just to sell gas. I started to remember things I'd overheard, the snatches of conversation between Carl and the delivery drivers, the way the regulars always left before 2 a.m., the strange symbols carved into the concrete behind the dumpster. I remembered the woman with the old coins, the man who never made a sound, the little girl who asked about the rules. They all knew. They were all part of it. If you've heard the rumors about the midnight stations, you know what I'm talking about. Places that don't show up on maps, that seem to move when you're not looking. Places where the rules are more important than the laws, where the night is just a little too long and the shadows a little too deep. Some say they're old, older than the towns that grew up around them. Some say they're necessary, that they keep something worse at bay. I don't know if I believe all of it, but I know what I've seen. I know what I've heard. And I know that the rules are there for a reason no one wants to talk about. I tried to confront Carl, to demand the truth. He just looked at me, tired and sad. Some things are bigger than us, he said. We do what we can. We keep the rules. That's all. But by then, it was too late. It happened on a night that felt like any other. Until it didn't. The air was thick, humming with a pressure that made my teeth ache. I'd been watching the trapdoor in the storage room all shift, half expecting it to move, half hoping I'd imagined everything I'd read in that battered notebook. But when the clock struck 2:13 a.m., the lights flickered and died, and the silence pressed in like a hand around my throat. That's when I heard it. The sound of the trapdoor creaking open, slow and deliberate. I froze, every instinct screaming at me to run, but my feet wouldn't move. Something was coming up from below, something that didn't belong in this world. Then the voices started. First, my mother's, soft and pleading. Let me in, honey. I'm so cold. Then Carl's, rough and urgent. You have to help me. Please, just open the door. They echoed through the store, overlapping, twisting into something inhuman. I pressed my back against the counter, clutching the flashlight like it could save me. The shadows in the aisles began to move, stretching and writhing, forming shapes that almost looked human. Almost. One of them stepped forward, wearing my face. Its smile was too wide, its eyes too dark. You broke the rule. It whispered, voice a perfect mimicry of my own. You looked when you shouldn't have. You listened when you should have prayed. I tried to speak, but my voice caught in my throat. What do you want? It grinned, teeth sharp and endless. We want in. We want out. The rules are the only thing that keeps us apart. But you broke them. Now you're part of the station. The others closed in, their voices rising in a chorus of taunts and pleas. Let us in. Let us out. You're one of us now." Their hands reached for me, cold and insistent, pulling me toward the open trapdoor. I fought back, screaming, kicking, desperate to hold on to anything real. I shouted the rules, one by one, like a prayer, like a curse. The shadows recoiled, hissing, but they didn't let go. "Please," I begged, "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to." The thing with my face leaned in close, its breath icy on my skin. "Sorry doesn't matter. Only the rules." I saw what happens to those who fail. I saw faces I recognized. Maria, Dave, the regulars. Trapped in the darkness below, their eyes wide with terror, their mouths open in silent screams. I saw myself, over and over, each version more twisted than the last. Just when I thought I'd be pulled under, the lights snapped back on. The shadows shrieked and scattered, retreating into the corners, into the trapdoor, which slammed shut with a final, echoing bang. I collapsed behind the counter, gasping for air, the rules clutched in my trembling hands. I barely made it out. Or maybe I didn't. If you ever find yourself working the night shift at a gas station, remember, the rules are there for a reason. I'm writing this as the sun rises, painting the parking lot in pale gold. The store is quiet, almost peaceful, but I know better now. I know what lurks beneath the floor, what waits in the woods, what wears the faces of people you love. I survived the night. At least, I think I did. But when I went to the break room this morning, the list of rules was different. Some of the old ones were gone, replaced by new instructions in handwriting I didn't recognize. Rule number 1 was still there, but now it read, "Never let anyone in after 2:13 a.m., even if they have your face." Rule number 7 had changed, too. If the coffee machine dispenses a cup on its own, pour it out. But this time, listen to what it says. There were more. Stranger, more specific. One simply read, "Don't trust the mirrors after 4 a.m." I don't know who wrote them. Maybe it was me. Maybe it was someone. Or something else. All I know is that the rules are alive, shifting to fit whatever comes next. And I'm not sure if I'm the same person who started this job. Sometimes, when I catch my reflection in the window, I see something move just a little too late, a smile that lingers when it shouldn't. There are more stations out there, more rules, more things waiting in the dark. I've heard stories. Maybe you have, too. Places where the shadows are too thick, where the clocks run backward, where the night never really ends. If you've ever worked a job like this, you know what I mean. If you've ever seen something you can't explain, heard your own voice calling from the other side of a locked door, you're not alone. Some of you have sent me your own rules, your own stories. I read every one. Maybe together, we can figure out what's really going on. Or maybe we're just keeping each other sane. So here's my question for you. What would your rule be? What's the one thing you'd never do, no matter how desperate you got? Let me know in the comments. And if you have your own story about a gas station, a midnight shift, a set of rules you can't break, I'm listening. One last thing. If you ever see someone who looks like me standing outside your door, don't let them in. No matter what they say, no matter how much they beg, because I'm not sure if I'm still me, and I don't want you to find out the hard way.